just tested the new Google Pixel 10 phone.
So there were big hopes and expectations for this whole series of phones.
Google's just released the Pixel 10, and as an iPhone user, I'm actually really looking forward to it.
Guess I'm really gonna have to go ahead and test this. Alright, what's up everybody? Today we're looking at the Android that is the closest to the iPhone. The all-new Google Pixel 10 Pro. Now, this is actually the first Android phone I've seriously spent time with, and honestly, if you're switching over from an iPhone like me, this might be the perfect gateway phone into the Android world. So, first off, at first glance, the Pixel 10 looks almost identical to last year's Pixel 9, and yeah, I get it. That might feel a little underwhelming, but here's the thing. The Pixel 9 was easily one of the best designed Android phones ever, so instead of reinventing the wheel, Google doubled down on that same clean industrial look, and in my opinion, that's a smart move. It shows they're confident enough not to chase flashy changes just to keep up with other flagships. Design-wise, it's nearly the same story. You've got the camera visor, a glossy glass back, paired with satin aluminum side. The only drawback though is if I saw this phone on the street, I couldn't immediately tell if it was a Pixel 9 or a Pixel 10. Personally, I don't mind because I actually love this design. Even that chunky camera bar people love to complain about. The buttons are also satisfyingly clicky, the haptics feel great, and it's generally a nice phone to type on. This year you also got some new refined colors. There's Obsidian, Porcelain, which I have right now, Moonstone, and Jade. Where I do think Google did fall a little short is in expectations. They didn't go wild with massive new specs or cutting edge hardware. There's still no super fast charging, no next gen silicon battery, and the display isn't breaking any records. Even the camera hardware is largely the same as last year. But here's something I really appreciate. The Pixel 10 keeps the ultrasonic fingerprint reader. It's noticeably faster now and feels a lot more natural to use day to day. The Pixel 8 still had an optical reader that wasn't nearly as reliable. Then the Pixel 9 introduced ultrasonic, and with the Pixel 10 it feels even more refined. It's quick, accurate, and seamless. So let's get into everything that's actually new this year, because that's what you're really here for. Starting with specs. This is the Google Pixel 10 Pro, the smaller of the two Pro models, and it's powered by the brand new Tensor G5 processor. This chip is finally built on TSMC's 3nm process, which should give us better efficiency and performance. You get 60GB of RAM and up to 1TB of storage, though the unit I'm testing only has 128GB. My advice, do not buy the 120GB model, it fills up way too quickly. Now, like with previous Tensor chips, this isn't a processor that's going to crush benchmarks or top performance charts, but that's never been Google's goal. All smartphones today are fast enough. Google's focus is on balancing power with efficiency and of course leaning heavily into AI. Probably the most exciting hardware feature this year is Pixel Snap, and if you're an iPhone user, this is basically MagSafe but for Pixel. You can use MagSafe accessories like wallets, stands, or chargers you already own, and they'll work natively with the Pixel 10 Pro without needing a special MagSafe case. That's honestly pretty awesome. On the Pixel 10 Pro, Pixel Snap supports Qi 2 or MagSafe charging up to 15 watts. The bigger Pro XL though can go up to 25 watts, which puts it on par with the iPhone 16 series. I don't know why the smaller Pro is capped at 15 watts, but if you care about slightly faster wireless charging, you'll want to go with the Pro XL model. And since we're already on the topic of charging, let's jump into battery life. Over the past week of using the Pixel 10 Pro, battery life has been really solid. I'll admit the first couple of days were a little rocky, but after that, it started to smooth out. Once the phone figured out my daily usage, mostly social media, emails, and Gmail, and messaging, it began prioritizing the apps I use the most and optimizing power around that. On average, I've been getting around 8 to 8.5 hours of screen on time, which is pretty impressive. Even while gaming, the phone hasn't overheated on me. I put a lot of PUBG Mobile and Genshin Impact, and performance has been very good. The Tensor G5 feels like a real upgrade over the past Pixels. Everything feels snappy, responsive, and smoother day to day. Compared to last year's Pixel 9 Pro series, heat management is way better. The phone will still get warm during heavy tasks, but it doesn't throttle nearly as much and it doesn't reach that uncomfortable hot to touch level anymore. On the software side, the Pixel 10 Pro ships with Android 16 right out of the box, bringing some of the latest Pixel exclusive features. One of the biggest is Magic Queue, which lets apps like Gmail, Calendar, and Messages work together intelligently. It can recognize context and give you relevant prompts or actions in real time. The best part, all this runs on device. That means no need to send your data to the cloud and back for simple tasks. For example, if a friend asks for that restaurant address for next week, it can instantly pull it from your email or calendar reservation and prompt you to share it. Visually, Android 16 also introduces Material 3 Expressive, which refines Material U with the brighter colors, bolder typography, cleaner layouts, and smoother animations. It really does make the phone feel fresh and customizable. The only drawback though is you still can't add custom icons in the stock Pixel launcher. You'd have to install a third-party launcher for that. I'll need a little bit more time with the phone to really test all the new AI features and see how much they help day to day. But one thing I do know is that they won't stay Pixel 10 exclusive forever. I'm sure older Pixels and even the Galaxy S25 series will get them eventually, so that exclusivity will fade over time. Alright, on to one of the best parts. Let's get onto the cameras. On the hardware side, things haven't changed dramatically. The Pixel 10 Pro still has a triple camera setup on the back, but there are two major upgrades this year. ProRes zoom up to 100 times and optical image stabilization on the telephoto lens. So the breakdown for the camera is this. You have a 50 megapixel main camera with an f1.68 aperture, 48 megapixel ultra with an f1.7 aperture, and finally a 48 megapixel telephoto at 5x zoom, now with optical image stabilization. Thanks to the new Tensor G5, photo and video processing feels faster than before. Processing ProRes zoom shots only takes a couple of seconds now, which is a big improvement over last year. And honestly, photo quality is excellent. I've compared against my iPhone 16 Pro, and the difference is surprisingly small. Pixel photos continue to improve every year. In good lighting, shots are sharp, contrast is balanced, and the colors are accurate. Not as flat as an iPhone, but instantly shareable and great for social media. The standout here is the OIS on the 5x telephoto. It makes a big difference for both photos and video, and ProRes zoom works really well up to 30 times. Beyond that, especially between 30 times and 100 times, the AI upscaling can get a bit weird. Landscapes, flowers, or buildings tend to look great, but text or faces often come out distorted. Where I think Google still lags is video. The iPhone remains the clear winner here. I was hoping to see proper pro features like log recording or 4K 120 FPS for slow motion, but instead we just get Video Boost, which records at 8K 24 or 30 frames per second. The catch is it has to process in the cloud, which means you have to wait for your footage to upload, process, and then download back. It works, but it's not practical. One positive note, thanks to the Tensor G5, switching between lenses for both photos and videos is faster and smoother than before. Now, of course, no phone is perfect, and the Pixel 10 Pro definitely has a few things that stand out as negatives. First off, the high-res shutter speed can feel a little slow at times. It's not a deal breaker, but if you're trying to capture quick moments in high resolution, you'll notice that slight lag. And sometimes I've found the phone just freezing or stuttering while doing really simple things like opening the camera or even just snapping a photo. For a device running the brand new Tensor G5 processor, that kind of hiccup feels disappointing. It makes the phone seem less consistent, even though most of the time it does feel fast and snappy. Charging is another weak point. The Pixel 10 Pro only supports 15-watt wireless charging, which feels dated compared to other Android devices pushing much higher speeds. You do get up to 25 watts on the bigger Pro XL, but on this smaller Pro, it feels like a limitation. And lastly, some people might see the limited hardware changes as a downside. Compared to the Pixel 9 Pro, the differences aren't massive. If you're looking for a phone that feels brand new in every way, the Pixel 10 Pro might not check that box. So overall, here's where I stand with the Pixel 10 Pro. I really like that Google stuck with a design that already works, and I love the refined feel of the hardware. From the clicky buttons, the great haptics, and those new subtle colors to the faster ultrasonic fingerprint reader, battery life has been solid. The new Tensor G5 makes everything smoother, and features like Pixel Snap finally bring Android closer to that iPhone ecosystem experience. What I'm most looking forward to is how all these new AI features evolve over time. Right now, Magic Queue and on-device intelligence feel generally useful, and I think they're only going to get better as Google continues to refine them. Where I think Google still needs to step up is video. Photos are excellent, but the lack of pro video tools like log recording or 4K 120 frames per second really keeps the Pixel behind the iPhone for creators. I'd also like to see faster wired and wireless charging and maybe a stronger push on display tech in future models. At the end of the day though, the Pixel 10 Pro shows me that Google is finally confident in its own identity. It's not chasing flashy numbers, but instead focusing on meaningful features, thoughtful design, and long-term growth. And for me, that makes it one of the best Android phones to recommend, especially if you're coming from an iPhone. So honestly, I will keep this as my main driver for the next couple of weeks or until the new iPhone 17 comes out. But until then, I'm going to try tinkering with some things and there'll be some more content for the Pixel Pro coming on the channel, so stay tuned for that. So again, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.